Peace and love. This is Mr. Fun. Monkeys are really people. Today is February the 5th, 2025, part two of the Reparations um, series. Before I do, I talked with a big time Haitian gangster, and I do apologize if that's not the way he would like to be described or anything like that. But in his prior life, that's kind of what he would be described as and do. A drug dealer, gangster, that type of individual. But everybody can change, and that's not my point. My point of mentioning him is I reached out to talk to him because I wanted to see about a way to unite Haiti with the other countries in the Caribbean and the black people in the United States of America and the gangs in the LA and all that to unite the people. And I told him that there was an amazing history, ancient history of Haiti that I believe will be instrumental in pushing that peace and unity. Understandably, when I talked to him, it was really funny because I heard the sincerity, and I know I'm on the right path with this reparations and wanting people to come together, black people to come together. He had mentioned, man, whenever I do something positive or something to that effect, there's no numbers. Numbers meaning like views, and with the views, now we're in the kind of YouTube economy. People get paid off of the views and likes and stuff like that. So I understand. And, you know, I don't know that he'll be interested any further once he heard my information, but I will reach out to him again. And the goal, in my opinion, is to unite people that want to be united. So that's a segue into the reparations. Um, that's a segue into the reparations uh, series because it's another part of unification is the reparations lawsuit. At one point, it was $28 trillion. Um, once we all get through the complaint that was put together and discuss it, by that time, I don't know how long it'll take, but by that time, 28 trillion may still be on the table. It may be more, it may be less. And the individual that created the case, created the complaint, I don't know, that he'll be involved in our discussion or not, either now or in the future. But it's just an idea of unification, understanding of the history and what happened, and the remuneration and all those other words for repair regarding the uh, the history of what happened and what is still happening, actually, with the slavery and Jim Crow and all the discrimination and theft and murder and I don't know how algorithm things work. I've seen a lot of people censoring and stuff. But so anyway, what I'm going to do today is read the Civil Rights Act of 1866. The Civil Rights Act of 1866. And we're going to read that so everybody can have a copy of it, an understanding of it, and then we'll discuss it. So, again, Mr. Fun, Monkeys are really people. This is episode 2 of the Reparations series, Civil Rights Act of 1866. Civil Rights Act of 1866. I'll put a link on the video description, and I found it by following these words in the Google search: 39th Congress, Session 1, Chapter 31, 1866. How all this is detailed in the congressional record is something that every one of us should know how to find and do, page number and all that. Um, we'll go into that in a separate type of session in environment. Specifically, this right now is the Civil Rights Act of 1866, which the name of it, well, let's just read it. Chapter 31, an act to protect all persons in the United States in their civil rights and furnish the means of their vindication. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that all persons born in the United States and not subject to any foreign power, excluding Indians not taxed, are hereby declared to be citizens of the United States, and such citizens of every race and color, without regard to any previous condition of slavery or involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall have the same right in every state and territory in the United States to make and enforce contracts, to sue, be parties, and give evidence, to inherit, purchase, lease, sell, hold, and convey real and personal property, and to full and equal benefit of all laws and proceedings for the security of person and property, as is enjoyed by white citizens, and shall be subject to like punishment, pains, and penalties, and none other, any law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom to the contrary notwithstanding. Section 2. And be it further enacted, that any person who, under color of any law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom, shall subject or cause to be subjected any inhabitant of any state or territory to the deprivation of any right secured or protected by this act, or to different punishments, pains, or penalties on account of such person having at any time been held in a condition of slavery or involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, or by reason of his color or race, than is prescribed for the punishment of white persons, shall be deemed guilty of a misdemeanor, and on conviction shall be punished by fine not exceeding $1,000, or imprisonment not exceeding 1 year, or both, in the discretion of the court. Section 3. And be it further enacted, that the district courts of the United States within their respective districts shall have, exclusively of the courts of the several states, cognizance of all crimes and offenses committing against the provisions of this act, and also, concurrently with the circuit courts of the United States, of all causes, civil and criminal, affecting persons who are denied or cannot enforce in the courts or judicial tribunals of the state or locality where they may be any of the rights secured to them by the first section of this act, and if any suit or prosecution, civil or criminal, has been or shall be commenced in any state court against any such person for any cause whatsoever, or against any officer, civil or military, or other person for any arrest or imprisonment, trespasses or wrong done or committed by virtue or under color of authority derived from this act, or the act establishing a bureau for the relief of freedmen and refugees, in all acts amendatory thereof, or for refusing to do any act upon the ground that it would be inconsistent with this act, such defendant shall have the right to remove such case for trial to the proper district or circuit court in the manner prescribed by the act relating to habeas corpus and relating judicial proceedings in certain cases, approved March 3, 1863, and all acts amended thereof. The jurisdiction in civil and criminal matters hereby conferred on the district and circuit courts of the United States shall be exercised and enforced in conformity with the laws of the United States, so far as such laws are suitable to carry the same into effect, but in all cases where such laws are not adapted to the object or are deficient in the provisions necessary to furnish suitable remedies and punish offenses against law, the common law, as modified and changed by the Constitution and statutes of the state wherein the court having jurisdiction of the cause, civil or criminal, is held, so far as the same is not inconsistent with the Constitution and laws of the United States, shall be extended to and govern said courts in the trial and disposition of such cases, and, if of a criminal nature, in the infliction of punishment on the party found guilty. Section 4. And be it further enacted that the district attorneys, marshals, and deputy marshals of the United States, the commissioners appointed by the circuit and territorial courts of the United States, with power of arresting, imprisoning, or bailing offenders against the laws of the United States, the officers and agents of the Freedmen's Bureau, and every other officer who may be specially empowered by the President of the United States shall be, as they are hereby specially authorized and required, at the expense of the United States, to institute proceedings against all and every person who shall violate the provisions of this act and cause him or them to be arrested and imprisoned or bailed, as the case may be, for trial before such court of the United States or territorial court as by this act has cognizance of the offense, and with a view to affording reasonable protection to all persons in their constitutional rights of equality before the law, without distinction of race or color, or previous condition of slavery or involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, and to the prompt discharge of the duties of this act, it shall be the duty of the circuit courts of the United States and the superior courts of the territories of the United States, from time to time, to increase the number of commissioners, so as to afford a speedy and convenient means for the arrest and examination of persons charged with the violation of this act. And such commissioners are hereby authorized and required to exercise and discharge all the powers and duties conferred on them by this act, and the same duties with regard to offenses created by this act as they are authorized by law to exercise with regard to other offenses against the laws of the United States. And be it further enacted that it shall be the duty of all marshals and deputy marshals to obey and execute all warrants and precepts issued under the provisions of this act when to them directed. And should any marshal or deputy marshal refuse to receive such warrant or other process when tendered, or to use all proper means diligently to execute the same, he shall, on conviction thereof, be fined in the sum of $1,000 to the use of the person upon whom the accused is alleged to have committed the offense. And the better to enable the said commissioners to execute their duties faithfully and efficiently in conformity with the Constitution of the United States and the requirements of this act, they are hereby authorized and empowered within the counties respectively to appoint in writing under their hand any one or more suitable persons from time to time to execute all such warrants and other process as may be issued by them in the lawful performance of their respective duties, and the person so appointed to execute any warrant or process as aforesaid shall have authority to summon and call to their aid the bystanders or posse comitatus of the proper county or such portion of the land or naval forces of the United States or of the militia as may be necessary to the performance of the duty with which they are charged, and to ensure a faithful observance of the clause of the Constitution which prohibits slavery in conformity with the provision of this act, and said warrants shall run and be executed by said officers anywhere in the state or territory within which they are issued. Section 6. And be it further enacted that any person who shall knowingly and wilfully obstruct, hinder, or prevent any officer or any other person charged with the execution of any warrant or process issued under the provision of this act, or any person or person wilfully assisting him or them from arresting any person for whose apprehension such warrant or process may have been issued, or shall rescue or attempt to rescue such person from the custody of the officer, other persons, or those lawfully assigned as aforesaid, when so arrested pursuant to the authority herein given and declared, or shall aid, abet, or assist any person so arresting as aforesaid, directly or indirectly, to escape from the custody of the officer or other person legally authorized as aforesaid, or shall harbor or conceal any person for whose arrest a warrant or process shall have been issued as aforesaid, so as to prevent his discovery and arrest after notice or knowledge of the fact that a warrant has been issued for the apprehension of such person shall, for either of said offenses, be subject to a fine not exceeding $1,000 and imprisoned not exceeding 6 months, by indictment and conviction before the District Court of the United States for the district in which said offense may have been committed, or before the proper court of criminal jurisdiction if committed within any one of the organized territories of the United States. Section 7. And be it further enacted that the district attorneys, the marshals, their deputies, and the clerks of the said district and territorial courts shall be paid for their services the like fees as may be allowed to them for similar services in other cases, and in all cases where the proceedings are before a commissioner, he shall be entitled to a fee of $10 in full for his services in each case, inclusive of all services incident to such arrest and examination. The person or persons authorized to execute the process to be issued by the commissioners for the arrest of offenders against the provisions of this act shall be entitled to a fee of $5 for each person he or they may arrest and take before any such commissioner as aforesaid, with such other fees as may be deemed reasonable by such commissioner for such other additional services as may be necessarily performed by him or them, such as attending at the examination, keeping the prisoner in custody, and providing him with food and lodging during his detention and until the final determination of such a commissioner, and in general for performance for, for and in general for performing such other duties as may be required in the premises. Such fees to be made up in conformity with the fees usually charged by the officers of the court of justice within the proper district or county, as near as may be practicable, and paid out of the Treasury of the United States on the certificate of the judge of the district within which the arrest is made, and to be recoverable from the defendant as part of the judgment in case of conviction. Section 8. And be it further enacted that whenever the President of the United States shall have reason to believe that offenses have been or are likely to be committed against the provisions of this act within any judicial district, it shall be lawful for him, in his discretion, to direct the judge, marshal, and district attorney of such district to attend at such place within the district, and for such time as he may designate, for the purpose of the more speedy arrest and trial of persons charged with the violation of this act, and it shall be the duty of every judge or other officer, when any such requisition shall be received by him, to attend at the place and for the time therein designated. Section 9. And be it further enacted that it shall be lawful for the President of the United States or such person as he may empower for that purpose to employ such part of the land or naval forces of the United States or of the militia as shall be necessary to prevent the violation and enforce the due execution of this act. Section 10. And be it further enacted that upon all questions of law arising in any cause under the provisions of this act, a final appeal may be taken to the Supreme Court of the United States. Schuler Colfax, Speaker of the House of Representatives. Lafayette S. Foster, President of the Senate pro tempore. Now, there's some more to it. After it's been kind of signed off on, from what I understand, is this here. In the Senate of the United States, April 6, 1866, the President of the United States, having returned to the Senate in which it originated the bill entitled "An Act to Protect All Persons in the United States in their Civil Rights and Furnish the Means of their Vindication," with his objections thereto, the Senate proceeded, in pursuance of the Constitution, to reconsider the same, and resolved that the said bill do pass, 2/3 of the Senate agreeing to pass the same. Attest. J.W. Forney, Secretary of the Senate. In the House of Representatives, U.S., April 9, 1866, the House of Representatives, having proceeded, in pursuance of the Constitution, to reconsider the bill entitled "An Act to Protect All Persons in the United States in their Civil Rights and Furnish the Means of their Vindication," returned to the Senate by the President of the United States with his objections, and sent by the Senate to the House of Representation with the message of the President returning the bill. Resolved that the bill do pass, 2/3 of the House of Representatives agreeing to pass the same. Attest. Edward McPherson, Clerk, by Clinton Lloyd, Chief Clerk. So we read through that, and if that was your first time reading it, success. Congratulations, you did it. Now, read it again. and read it again in each section and define the words. The rule, number one rule of the game, monkeys are really people, is that you never, ever, ever go past a word that you don't understand. So in this case, I'm certain that myself and some of our readers have found words in this document that they don't understand the definition of, never heard before, or assume that they have a definition for it. Well, that's not good, folks. We're going to get out of that bad habit and we'll start defining the words by looking them up in the law dictionary. Black Laws Dictionary, Bouvier. I would suggest getting a couple different law dictionaries from a couple different eras, time, dates, and just study the definition of the words. This is very important. I think it's a very good subject um, for people that's interested. Now, I say for people that's interested because I put this first um, idea up, the first session, and I got a couple comments from people, from a person basically, who, may or may not be interested in black people getting reparations. So he's got a bunch of questions. Obviously, I haven't cleaned up this place, beautified it yet. I gotta fill a printer with ink and whatnot. But a person who may or may not be interested in black people getting reparations for whatever reason. In one of the comments, I mentioned that there were Nazis and German people that were against the Jewish people getting reparations for their Holocaust after World War II. So it's not important what people think or what people feel because you're going to have pros and cons, regardless of race or color, as this document spoke about. There's a thing about race and color. Where did that come from? Race and color. So this goes beyond reparations, but we'll start there and we'll discuss it. And the goal is for those interested, put together the case for reparations and take it to court. Take it to court maybe independently, take it to court as a class, as a group. Once we on this channel, which, take it as seriously as you want, monkeys are really people. We don't just talk about the reparations. This is a show case of different type of information and shows. Reparations being one um, of the topics. Okay, one of the topics. So based on that, it's serious to that degree. I had posted on Instagram about the reparations lawsuit case, the videos and stuff, and somebody said, "Is a reputable media like cosign for this?" And look, like I said, people are people now and think and do what they want. I'm a reputable media institution. So, I could have said, yeah, but people have an idea of they want a boss. And, if based on, popularity, if you have a lot of numbers on your account, that means you're a authority in the situation. I'm not an authority in the reparations or law or anything like that, except for myself. The idea of doing this video series is that people become authorities of the law and reparations for themselves if they want to pursue a case of reparations. And once we get to that point, or even before, But once we get further into this series, I'm going to put together a campaign where all of your local government people, influential people, and all that are notified. Write them letters, let them know what we're doing, and have it detailed out so they can be familiar and aware of this. And I want to especially think and mention the Nation of Islam because part of the program of the Nation of Islam, it appears to have some consideration or some specifications for reparation type performance. In what the Muslims want, I believe it says we want, certain things, and it might be a good idea one of these episode series to get into that because in my opinion, as far as black people go in the United States of America, uh, the Nation of Islam is an authority or is the authority for black people. Take it or leave it. I don't care about what you think. That's what I think. If you want to talk about it, that's fine. But the authority because they are the ones that put in work since 100 years or very close to it. So I don't want to prolong this so much more. I did just want to mention the negative comments and the negativity that will be um, involved in the black people search for reparations. Um, and just to put the word out that as much negativity is involved, it should be matched with positivity to balance it out. So we can balance out the ledger, negative and positive, and also throughout this series of study, the word black. You got a lot of niggas talking about black. Don't use black. We not black. We copper colored. Listen, you're talking about crayons and colors. We're not a color. We're not a black color, but we're a copper color. Like in this document I just read, the Civil Rights Act of 1866, they're talking about race and color. Got y'all twisted. But anyway, it's a historical problem, and it's kind of like colorism is even an ancient problem. So we may touch on that too. But if you mention the color black as being something negative, something with outstanding, civil or mortus, and all these different things, we have to discuss it, and you have to bring your citation for your understanding because a lot of the brothers Moors say black means death. But then when you look at the word Moor, Chueri, Moor gauge, Moor bid, all these words are death. So believe me, I've been involved in the Moor Science Temple of America. I know the teachings, I know the history. So if you want to talk about that, it should be put in this reparations series. But bring your citations because if it somehow black means death in a new dispensation or under these new laws or something, that's fine. Bring it to the forefront, the documentation, because otherwise it's cap. It's just a dogma of some type of program for something else. Because like back in the day when I was doing some other studies, people kept talking about Al Kebulan as the name of Africa and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, well, show me where you find that in the writing. Al Kebulan. In what written history document have you ever seen that? Could nobody show it to me? Nobody. For over 10 years. And even after 10 years, because I never was showed where it is. So I just stopped asking niggas. You heard? So look, everything that you know, everything that you've been taught, believe, think, that's fine. But we just have to bring it to the table and explain it. Can't just say it. Just explain it to the people so they'll understand it. You know what I mean? And document it. I'm familiar with the black codes, South Carolina, North Carolina, all that. This is what the study is about because we're about to get reparations. When I say we, I mean the black people, and it just is what it is. Love you all, and I hope you're doing well. This is Mr. Fun. Monkeys are really people.